Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Deep Pickle 4707 and it says, am I the arsehole for opening the door like my fiance's father wanted? There's a trigger warning on this one of animal neglect, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It starts. I'm currently sitting in the bathroom, still at my fiance's parents' house as I write this, so I apologize for any mistakes. We were supposed to spend 2 weeks here, but his parents don't have time off from work. They both work for the same office and always go at 7 AM. I'm usually the one who wakes up early, while my fiance sleeps as much as he can. The first morning I got up, his father asked me to open the door at 9 every day and let their dog out into the garden. He said that my husband's brother usually took care of it, but he was abroad now, so there was no one to do it. I agreed. At 9 I opened the door and then, 3 hours later, I let the dog into the house. I did it again today. 3 hours later, 4, 6, 7, my fiance's parents were almost home, and I still hadn't heard the dog. I went out into the garden and he was not there, but the gate was slightly open. I panicked and ran to my fiance. I told him what happened. We planned to go out and look for the dog, but by then his parents had arrived. I thought maybe the dog had done this before and would come back, or that they knew where he might have gone / if someone could have taken him. So I immediately told them what had happened and they yelled at me. My fiance's mother was shocked and said she had no idea what I was talking about and they never let the dog out alone. My fiance's father was equally furious and asked me if I was crazy and started talking about how I should have known their gate had been broken for years, can't be fully closed, and how they would never put their dog in such danger. I reminded him of our conversation, but he said he didn't remember anything like that and that I should stop blaming him. My fiance asked if I did it on purpose and started bringing up an incident from a year ago involving their dog. I felt overwhelmed, and now I'm sitting in the bathroom and they went to look for the dog. Edit, as someone suggested, I called my fiance's brother. He didn't have much time to talk, but when I asked him about the dog, he said they never let him out. Edit, the incident from last year involved a dog jumping on me as I was entering the living room, and I fell and hit myself. I forgot about it and I don't remember until my fiance mentioned it. Even though my fiance is sleeping longer, we spent most of the day today moving things from the pantry, moving old furniture to the basement, and bringing the new furniture into the kitchen and putting it all together. Even though we're on vacation, we agreed to help his parents. I've never had a dog. The first time I let him out, he came back 3 hours later alone and barked, since no one told me how long he had to stay there. I guess I just assumed it would be like this every day. When he wanted to come in, he would start barking. No, my fiance doesn't ask about the dog even once a day. Edit. As someone suggested in the comments again, I sent my fiance's brother a message saying, "Hi, I'd like to thank you for what you told me about your family never letting the dog out and you never doing it at any hour. You really helped me, thanks again." Now he wrote back, "You're welcome," and asked what happened. So I'm going to describe everything to him and see what he says. Edit, I found the dog. I just got up from the floor, wanted to wash my face and do something, and as I was passing the window, I saw this. The neighbor's garden, and it was my fiance's parents' dog. He was just lying in the middle of the lawn, basking in the sun. I don't know if he was there all the time, but I felt stupid. My fiance and his parents haven't returned yet. I'm going to the neighbors to pick up dog. I'm also waiting for a response from my fiance's brother, and then I have no idea what I'm going to do. My hands are still shaking, honestly. Commenter says to OP, "Why didn't you check on the dog after you let him out? He was outside for 7 hours and you didn't check on him once. And what was the incident from a year ago?" OP says, "I don't know, there was just a lot going on today. My fiance and I were in the kitchen all day and I kind of forgot. I thought that like last time, the dog would just show up at the door and bark when he wanted to come in. Their dog is big and sometimes likes to jump at people. So when he did it to me last year, I fell over and hit myself. But I didn't remember it until my fiance reminded me. Commenter replies saying a lot going on in the kitchen. Where did your boyfriend think the big dog was? Are you both high? OP says, yep, we spent all day taking things out the pantry, moving some furniture to the basement, and putting other new furniture in the kitchen. I don't know, and no. Commenter says, I have mixed feelings. How would you know the gate is broken? But why leave the dog outside for so long? Are you not comfortable with being in the house with the dog? OP says they didn't tell me how long their dog was supposed to be there, so I assumed he would come back when he wanted to. And another commenter says, what was the incident from a year ago involving the dog? OP says he jumped on me as I was entering the living room and I fell and hit myself. This one had me a bit all over the place because the dog situation itself, I don't think OP was the arsehole for following, what they thought was a clear instruction. But and then again, I was like 7 hours without checking. The boyfriend had equal responsibility as well. Like, no one just at least have a look through the window. Is the dog all right? Is it still alive? But let's jump to a bigger issue here, and your fiance's father gaslighting you immediately when he gave you instructions and then everything went to shit. He completely denied that conversation happened and made you question your own self. Got me over here going all Columbo for a second. And the fiance's response jumped out to me as well, like, did you do this on purpose? Bringing up that old incident where you were knocked over by the dog, like you've come up with some diabolical plan to get rid of it. And the brother's response was interesting. I know you can't tell a lot from text format on Reddit, but the you're welcome, I thought, oh, is the brother moved away from this family for reasons we don't know about? To me, and I get that this could be very Reddit of me, but it feels like less of an accident and more like a setup for OP. But OP did come in with an update and says, I didn't think I'd be writing an update on this so quickly, but the last 2 hours have been very chaotic. This time I'm in the bedroom. My fiance's parents still arguing when I'm writing this. I know many people may not know this, so I'll start by saying, the dog has been found. I saw him through the bathroom window. He was in the neighbor's garden, so I went and picked him up. The neighbor didn't even know about it. She was very surprised when she saw me and when I told her there was a dog in her garden. But luckily she was very nice. Didn't make any problems and just let me take the dog. I have no idea if he was there the whole time or if he only showed up later. Anyway, I took him home. He's behaving normally, ate, drank and fell asleep on the couch. At the time after I found him, I wrote to my fiance and he and his parents can come back. As I wrote in my previous post, I also contacted my fiance's brother. He confirmed that the dog was never let out in a way that his father asked me. And I told him what exactly happened via text. Here's his response, translated by Google Translator, so again, sorry. You need to tell my fiance's name and their mother's nickname. I'm sorry this is happening and you're having to go through this, but honestly, I'm not surprised. Ever since dog's name had the accident, another dog attacked him, Dad has become very callous. He said several times that he'd like to get rid of him, the dog. But I didn't think he'd go this far. It sounded more like a joke. But why would he tell you to let dog's name out into the garden and with the gate? He, the dog, isn't even used to it. What? I tried to contact their mother's nickname too. Again, I'm sorry you have to deal with this alone. When they returned, I showed the message to my fiance and his mother. This started a whole new argument. My fiance's father continued to argue that he and I never discussed it, but this time my fiance and his mother sided with me. Then my fiance's mother asked me and my fiance to leave them. Since then, as I mentioned at the beginning, they've been arguing. My fiance apologized and said he was shocked and that he felt stupid for not even noticing that something is wrong. Honestly, I didn't feel like talking after he accused me with such confidence, so I ended up in the bedroom while my fiance went to the kitchen. I know this is a chaotic update, and I apologize if anything is unclear, but that's pretty much it. I didn't have anything more to say. I have to rethink some things and what happened and what it means for all of us. I also have to admit that I want to go back to my home. I feel done. But thank you to those who suggested I should contact my fiance's brother. It really helped. Small edit, my fiance's father just left the house. I don't know what happened, but I saw him driving away in the car. And I'm going to pack up and leave too. I really just want to be with my family right now. I'm starting to get stressed just from sitting in a room and I can't handle any more conversations. Commenter says, and was downvoted, sounds to me like you didn't get called out for leaving an animal outside for 7 hours, so you decided to make a fake update to absolve yourself of any responsibility regarding the situation. Opie says, and what would that give me? It wouldn't solve any of my problems with my fiance or his parents. Freak, even knowing what happened doesn't solve this. Everything is still a mess. The only good thing is that the dog was found. Someone questions whether Opie's fiance's father was kicked out of the house. Opie says, I don't know if he was thrown out, he just drove away. Commodore says, just go home. Your fiance's father did this on purpose, hoping the dog would disappear, and you would get the blame. The fact that it almost worked is certainly worth reevaluating your relationship over, but not in their house. Go home. Opie replies saying, yeah, I don't even have the energy for all this anymore. It's a little late here, but I'm gonna pack and call a taxi. I just want to be with my family. Totally agree that Opie just needs to get out of there for the time being and reevaluate what's actually going on. I mean, she was accused of doing this on purpose by a partner. Certainly raising my eyebrows there, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Acceptable Crab 6040 and says, am I the arsehole for calling my husband's friendship with his co-worker an emotional affair? Hi, my husband and I have been married for 2 years and known each other for 4. We have an 11-month-old daughter. Our relationship is great. We've been loving our experience as parents. There's just this issue that I thought I had resolved, but my husband's behavior is making me think I went about it in an arsehole-ish way. Around December of last year, he had referred a woman he knew from his college days. I'd asked him back then if they'd been close friends. He said they were kind of friends, not close enough to make plans to hang out together, but close enough they'd hang only if they saw each other. I was like totally fine with that, obviously. Anyway, she got the job and works in his office. Fortunately, in a different team. Their friendship seemed to have been blossoming, which again was fine, although it had been intruding into his time at home. Often he'd get texts and smile and respond, and it would be from her. When I'd casually ask what she said, it wouldn't be anything scandalous. Sometimes a shared reference from their college life. He took me to a restaurant near his office once as a special night out, and midway through I learned he'd been here before with her. We were about to argue, but he said it was just lunch, and I also didn't want to ruin our night out, but that's when I really started side-eyeing it. And then finally I was going through his phone for a number that he keeps in his contacts. She responded to him, and I just clicked on the notification and read some messages. She was complaining about the lack of luck on Tinder, and was like going off about the kind of guy she's looking for. And now I don't really fully think she was making a pass, but just some things hit too close to home. My husband. I told him about what I'd read. He didn't mind the reading. We are both very open on our phones to each other. He was like, what's the issue? And I said the kind of conversations and the frequency with which they were happening. Since they saw each other at work, went for lunch together, then had these kind of texts at home. It had become an emotional affair, and he needed to cut her off. He looked like I'd slapped him. He argued back, really stressing the affair part that I'd said. I told him how stressed this was making me, and I needed all this communication outside of work to be stopped, and later said at least has to be toned down significantly. He did agree to it, but made it clear how wrong I was in calling it an emotional affair. This happened on Thursday. He's been pretty cold since. Like I don't think I've ever seen him act like this before. Yesterday I was just cuddling with him and he wasn't being soft like he normally is when we cuddle, and he told me he couldn't believe I called it an emotional affair and that he'd ended it, but this hurts not only him for being accused of an affair, but her too, who must think we're crazy. I was hurt and our night kind of ended like that. Have I been the arsehole here? If I have been and I'm the reason our relationship has taken a hit, I'll fix it. Need a judgment. First commenter said, so he had a friend and that was the emotional affair. Lol, you snooped and found zero actual evidence, but still made the outlandish accusation anyways. He's never given you a reason to doubt him, yet you did it anyways. He caves to your absurd demands and in the end you are hurt. Oh my fucking god, you're the arsehole. Opie says, I wasn't snooping though. I was on his phone to find another contact's number. And I'm okay with the judgment, but just to provide context, he spends more time with her than his very close friends now because of their work proximity. Regular lunches and then the text when he was home too. And then her pouring to him the kind of guy she wanted and him agreeing like all that combined is what pushed me over the edge. Commodore says, you're jealous and controlling. There is no affair of any kind, and you were clearly jealous from the very beginning. You're the arsehole. Opie says initially she was just a friendly acquaintance, whom he helped get a job. Absolutely had no issues at the beginning. Commodore says, question. If this were a guy friend and every single interaction were the same, would you call that an emotional affair? I ask because it doesn't sound from your description that your husband is emotionally invested in this relationship more than he would be with some other friend. An emotional affair is typically when two people are acting as if they were a couple in all ways except for the physical. Things like being flirty, sharing deep feelings, coming to each other with their worries or hopes. It doesn't sound like your husband is doing that. Opie says, I would call it a friendship that's infringing on domestic life if he was giving him time at home after 8+ hours at work. And he has close guy friends whom he doesn't give that much time. And he told me she wasn't a close friend back in December. Like if he had, maybe I could have handled it better. Commodore says, info, you never stated your ages. Opie says, I'm 25 and he's 30. So Opie eventually responds to all the feedback and says thanks for the feedback, even maybe especially those who said I was in the wrong. Last night when we were watching TV, his responses to me were still standoffish, which honestly was messing with me more than the actual texts and lunches. So I brought it up with him. I asked if he was angry at me still due to our conversation a week ago. He said no, it's fine, but I still apologized to him. I said using the phrase emotional affair was too much. I said it without realizing what it truly meant. I couldn't ever imagine him being unfaithful and hurting me and our daughter that way. And I didn't say this to him, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but now that we have our daughter, I think I just thought whatever he had with his workplace friend had the potential of messing with the life in our family that we had now. So I might have said more than I should have. We made it up in the moment with kisses and watching TV. I also said that I appreciated how quickly he'd dropped everything with her, despite any misgivings he may have had about what I was asking of him. He said no problem, and that he was glad he could be normal with her in less than a week, and she wouldn't be too weirded out by all of it. I felt uncomfortable by that, and framed it in a way a lot of commenters had suggested I frame it. I told him I was uncomfortable with how quickly and deeply his friendship with a single girl who was supposed to not even have been good friends with him had strengthened. He again brought up trust, that he was his college friend and all. I said I trust him, just tone it down. I want my daughter and me to be his priority, not some random girl. And I kind of broke down a bit at this point. I know some comments had called me emotionally abusive, but I swear to God, this wasn't something I had planned. I asked him to just not have her be a strong presence, and he said he would tone it down. It'd keep the friendship to the way it was initially. I'm glad I cleared out the emotional affair part of it. I didn't like to have accused him of it, and it really wasn't. I crossed the line there, and I want to clarify that I'm okay with him having women as friends. One of his close friends is a girl, but again, she doesn't get the same frequency of communication his co-worker gets, especially when the work hours are factored in. Anyway, we made up after all of that, and hopefully we're back to the way we were before all of this. Thanks a lot. So the comments were interesting on the update. They almost went the other way compared to the first part of the story. The first commenter said, I'm glad you made up, but there really is no reason for them to talk after hours and have inside jokes you know nothing about. If you had a problem with that, then there is a problem. Don't beat yourself up too much. Opie says thank you. Like, yeah, it just bothers me. The frequency of all of it. And that's why I just had to bring it up even after I apologized, which was definitely due. And he said he'll tone it down to the way it was before all of this. Another commenter says, OP, there are signs all over here. Can you look at credit card statements? See if he's paying for these lunches, and you seriously need to know how long they are. It sounds like a date to me that he's paying for. That money is out of your account. I would hire a private investigator to get your ducks in a row and to protect your daughter and yourself. I've seen this happen at places I've worked. Opie says we have a joint account, so I could if I wanted to. But like a lot of people in my first post said, I was snooping in my husband's phone. I just want to again clarify, him and I have zero issues with going through each other's phones for whatever reason, and a message had just popped up when I was on it. So I wasn't on the phone with the intention of collecting evidence. And even right now with a credit card, I don't even know what that would do. I'm positive it's not physical. It just caused the distance of the last week to crop up again. Another commenter says, "Girl, read these comments. That man is cheating." OP says, "I've read the comments. I really appreciate all the input, but if I'm being very honest, reading the comments on this post is kind of pissing me off a bit. Last post the comments had, correctly I think, told me that maybe the phrase emotional affair is all that was the problem, but also that just an open conversation was needed, which is what I went into my convo with, and apologized for the phrase. And now the comments are different. I would have had a different convo probably if I read these in the last post, which just really aligned with how I'd been feeling back when I first accused him of an emotional affair. I didn't talk to my friend or my mum about this because I'd always been told not to involve others in your marriage. I thought asking here would not be an intrusion, and I'm deeply grateful for the help. I felt better last night than I had the entire week because we were finally warm to each other again. I don't think he's physically cheating or will ever. That is not him. That girl's sudden closeness was the only issue for me, which he'll handle now. Edits, maybe I should rephrase when I wrote the comments on this post are pissing me off. I didn't mean to be rude, they're just similar to the way I was thinking when we had the fight, and I would have liked these comments to have been on the first post. I know that sounds ungrateful, but like it's done, the conversation is done, the vibes are good between us now, and I'll just wait and see." Another commenter says, "So he pouted until he got his way. He's dismissive of you when you bring other concerns to him. The fact that his immediate response was that he can go back to normal with his coworker is a giant red flag. You need counseling. He needs to see that this isn't a normal friendship with coworkers. Maybe show him this thread." ETA, OP, I've read your comments about how you're upset with these comments because they didn't show up on the first post. Please know that you can open the conversation with your husband again. Hey, can I please say something concerning the conversation we had earlier? Saying emotional affair might not have been the correct choice of words, so for that I apologize, but I do need you to know that I'm upset and concerned that your first reaction was relief that things with your coworker can get back to normal. I feel like that reaction was dismissive of my feelings about the situation, and while I don't want to ever deny friendships to you, you being cold to me over a poor word choice hurts me. Then as soon as I apologize, you stop being cold to me. Yet being professional with your coworker was a request too far apparently. As my husband, I need you to know you're on my team. And right now I'm coming to my teammate telling you that this is concerning me. Opie replies saying, "Thank you so much, I'll consider this. I hate having to reopen it, especially when I know that my worst fears are irrational. Like I said, I do think the fact that we have our daughter and family now may have spurred these thoughts in my head. The extra comfort I get from it seems like it might be worth it. Thanks a lot, I'll try to have this conversation." Another commenter says, "There's nothing wrong with telling a partner your concerns. That's why you married them. They're your partner and you made a vow to each other. It's not your daughter, and the fact that you're a family that's making you think this. It's his actions and responses. It's not irrational if it's true. What's more important to your husband? Your comfort in the relationship, or the way his coworker and friends feel about having less contact? Honestly, that shouldn't have been something you question." And OP adds one final comment that says, "I will be having another conversation. I'll probably be made fun of for this, for being 25 and a mum myself and still having to go to my mum. But I spoke to my mum this morning and confided in her about how I'd been troubled, and she made me feel that this is worth taking a stand for, and that I shouldn't compromise my comfort. I know you shouldn't bring others into your marriage, but I did, wrong as it was. So I'll figure out how to have the next conversation, like when to do it. The next time I get uncomfortable, I'll probably do it." And the contrasting comments between the first post and the second post were definitely interesting in this story. I was kind of like, even if it was insecurity, they were just saying even if it was, I think OP should be, with marriage and everything, you should be able to talk about your feelings in that way. Like, this makes me uncomfortable, without getting, you know, the silent treatment until you apologize. And I have to admit, from my point of view, and I know I totally understand this will probably make me look insecure or whatever, but I think I would feel uncomfortable in OP's position, especially when it came to like these Tinder conversations and about her dating life and how successful she's been and her ideal partner, etc., etc. And maybe that's wrong, but I'm not going to lie to you about it. Going to be very interested in your comments on this one, and how would you feel in a situation like that? Would you be totally fine with it? Would you not? How did you feel about the comments on that particular post? As I always say, I never think I'm right in these situations. I'm just a Burke behind a microphone. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, you are amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.